Welcome back to the Resolute Life. If this is your very first time with us, welcome aboard. You're about to take a powerful first step toward a life defined by fulfillment, achievement, connection, and resilience. A life guided by different values and principles. Maybe you've heard our podcast on Apple or Spotify. Maybe you've read one of our blogs or followed us on social media. However you arrived, we're glad you're here. And we hope the content has given you clarity, courage, and direction. If what we share resonates with you, then don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone you care about. Share it with someone searching for more. This journey becomes even more powerful when it's shared. Everything you'll hear today is drawn from the daily life of resolute beings. Live with intent. You can pick up a copy on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or through our website. If you're serious about growth, it's a must-read. Hit that subscribe button and get notified the moment our next video drops, so you can keep moving forward, one resolute step at a time. Today we are going to talk about reframing. Gaining self-awareness about our past is not just about recalling what happened to us. Recalling an experience that was formed through perception alone will simply replay your perception of that moment, and our perception is almost always subjective. We repeat the past when we get stuck in our perception of past events, without moving to the awareness side of them. When we think back, we can easily describe our perception of the past experience, but we often struggle to describe the same event from different perspectives, since we are unaware of the bigger picture. What we need is to revisit the past, with the purpose of adding awareness to our perception. Awareness is about understanding how our past has influenced our internal reality. It is about getting insights around how our perception of the past is influencing our interpretation of our current circumstances and our future potential. In last week's video, we spoke about triggers and how we must become aware of how they influence our behavior. Once you have identified those past experiences that trigger your behavior, you must move to the next phase, which is to reconstruct your perception of those historical events. This process is called reframing. Cognitive reframing, also known as cognitive restructuring, is a powerful psychological technique that allows us to shift our perspective and reinterpret the meaning of a situation. By consciously changing the way we think about an event or experience, we can alter our emotional response. Through reframing, we expand our awareness of the past. Through awareness, you can change your viewpoint of hurtful moments in your past by adding different perspectives, similar to looking at the same event, but from different camera angles, like we did last week. Let's use an example to illustrate reframing. Let's say that when you were a child, you were humiliated by a teacher in front of the whole class. When you close your eyes, all you can see and feel is exactly what you experienced as a child. Since then, you always struggled with relating to authority figures, especially when you and the authority figure are in a public setting. Now, let's look at that same classroom situation differently. Perhaps the teacher, which represents the archetype of an authority figure, who humiliated you in front of your class, which represents a public setting, was going through a divorce at the time. And on top of that, she heard just that morning that her daughter was diagnosed with fatal cancer. Dealing with all of this became too much for her, and under pressure and in a moment of weakness, she undeservedly lashed out at you. Her feelings of rejection and impending loneliness triggered an emotional response in her, and she took it out on you. This new perspective does not make the teacher's behavior acceptable, but becoming aware that your humiliation had less to do with you and more with the pain the teacher was experiencing at the time changes the frame of reference. By looking at the same moment but from the teacher's point of view, you suddenly realize you were not the one to blame. You did nothing wrong. You also realize that, just like any human under severe stress, the teacher acted from a position of pain, something you can relate to. You also realize that this was a random, once-off event, and while in that moment you felt betrayed and embarrassed, looking back at it now from a new angle, the only power that moment has on you is the power you gave to it when you were a child. Through this process of viewing the past differently, you can essentially change your past. By adding awareness, your experience of the past changes, and with it the control it has on your current and future self. With this realization, you are enabling yourself to reframe any past, present, or future experience where you must engage with an authority figure, like your boss, in a public setting, like a team strategy session. It empowers you to change your triggered reaction from, "he is picking on me again," to "let me look at this experience from all angles before I react." To gain awareness about how the past has formed your internal reality, review all impactful negative experiences you've had in the past by asking yourself the questions below. To do this, find some quiet time to make a list of past events that had a negative emotional impact. Start with the top 3 most negative events. Once you have this list, work through each of them one by answering the following questions. Question 1. Why did I find this event traumatic? 2 people can experience the same event but interpret it differently. You must understand why a specific event was traumatic for you. Question 2. What lessons did I learn from this event? This is often a subconscious lesson, something that triggers our natural defense mechanisms. For example, did you learn I cannot trust anyone? Or men are just interested in sex? Or money is the root of all evil? Or I am a useless human being? Question 3. How did these lessons impact my worldview? How does this lesson influence the way you see the world? For example, you might have learned that you cannot trust anyone. How does this impact the way you assess any new people you meet, or view business transactions, or interactions with your friends, and even your significant other? Question 4. How do these lessons impact my interactions with the world? You might not even be aware of the way your view is determining the way you interact with the world. For example, think about the last time you had a fight with someone. What did they do to make you angry? Why did this make you angry? Did you feel rejected? Did you feel worthless? Is there something else you felt? What triggered your emotions and behavior? How are your emotional and behavioral responses connected to your past and the lessons you have learned from them? Your responses can often be traced to some traumatic trigger event in the past. Question 5. How did these lessons create to my current circumstances? We create our own environment as much as our environment has created us. When something happens to you, which is an effect of the environment, you decide how to react, which is your effect on the environment. And your reactions are influenced by your past, which is how the past affect your present. The sum of these past influence decisions created the environment in which you currently find yourself. For example, perhaps you are stuck in a dead-end job because a past experience taught you that you are worthless and will not amount to anything special. And over time, you have rejected any promotion opportunities because you never felt ready or worthy. This internal reality is therefore driving your daily decisions to find and stay in meaningless jobs. However, the amazing news is that the past can also be positive. Organisms survive based on their ability to adapt or avoid threats in their environment. This is one of the basic premises of evolution. Species that successfully adapt to environmental threats survive, and those that cannot, perish. For this reason, most living organisms, including humans, react intensely to any perceived external threat. Through evolution, we are designed to identify, to react, and to remember negative experiences. The better we are at this, the better our chances for survival. However, this is not the only way evolution shapes species. Species that can harness and optimize environmental opportunities move beyond survival. They thrive and multiply. Species that can identify, react to, and remember how to repeat positive experiences tend to flourish. And this holds true for humans. People who purposefully try and find opportunities and learn from positive experiences tend to live happy, successful, and fulfilled lives. Living a resolute life requires you to develop the habit of focusing on the positives in your environment. Gaining awareness of the negative experiences in your past is important, but it is equally important to identify those events that contributed positively towards your development. Some people find it easy to focus on the positives in life. Most people find it easier to focus on the negatives, often at the cost of focusing on the positives. Perhaps you are someone who tend to focus on the negative elements in life. This is because your paradigm blocks many positive experiences from awareness, since they do not conform with your worldview. Without realizing it, you have experienced many positive moments that runs counter to your negative paradigms. Your perception just refused to acknowledge them, or colored them in negative ways to conform to your internal reality. Regardless if the habit of focusing on the positive comes easy to you or not, it is something that you must work on and develop until it becomes second nature. Let's use the exact same exercise you performed earlier, but this time focus on the positive moments in your life. Question 1. Why did I find this event inspirational? Two people can experience the same event but interpret it differently. You must understand why a specific event was inspirational or positive to you. Question 2. What lessons did I learn from this event? This can be a subconscious lesson, something that triggers good feelings in you. For example, did you learn, I'm good at math, or I'm funny and make people laugh, or I'm good at managing my money, or I can deal with a difficult situation? Question 3. How did these lessons impact my worldview? Based on your lesson, how do you perceive the outside world? You might have learned that when you work hard towards a goal, you can achieve it. How does this impact the way you assess any new challenges that come across your way? Or how you view business opportunities, or going on a diet? Question 4. How do these lessons impact my interaction with the world? When you expect positive outcomes, it reflects in the way you approach the world around you. Your reactions are determined by whether you have a negative or positive outlook on the situation. Question 5. How did these lessons create my current circumstances? Your positive collaboration with the world inevitably creates positive outcomes, and that positive collaboration was driven by your positive worldview. Think about how the positive experiences of the past have contributed to establishing the positive elements in your current environment. We have come to the end of today's video. In the coming week, start reframing your negative experiences. Use the 5 questions to understand the negative and positive lessons you have learned from the past, and then decide if these lessons are still relevant for your life today. If not, expand your awareness by reframing them by looking at the same past event from different angles. Thank you so much for joining us today. Remember to subscribe and to share this video with others. Check out other content on our website, socials like LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram, podcasts on Spotify and Apple. We also have a WhatsApp channel that shares inspirational messages daily. And, if you have not done so yet, get your copy of The Daily Life of Resolute Beings Live with Intent today. Next week we are going to deep dive into self-awareness and self-congruence. Until next week, live resolutely.